What is up, mountain bikers? Downhill Will here. Damn it. What is up, mountain bikers? Downhill Will here. As you can see, I'm not riding my bike today. I actually wanted to start doing some more bike maintenance videos for you folks out there. I know it helped me a lot watching YouTube videos. So, I break a lot of rims as a DH rider. What better way to start with a Cush Core installation? Now, tools you need. Nothing crazy. This is one of the things that I find to be extremely helpful. You can do it with regular tire levers, but if it's a new Cush Core and a new downhill casing tire, a true Cush Core lever makes a massive difference. So a Cush Core lever, a hammer, and no, that's not out of frustration so you can whack your rims when you can't do it. It's got a reason, trust. Your valve, which actually comes with Cush Core for 150 bucks, you'd hope you'd get it. And a pump. I prefer using an air compressor. I know some of you folks out there aren't going to have one, so I'll try to do it with a regular pump just so I can show you how to do it. Alright, pool noodle, here we are. GoPro, stop recording. First things first, you're just going to want to install your tubeless Cush Core valve. And yeah, it's got to be a Cush Core valve. You can kind of use other ones, but they have this really special double kind of holes, and it allows the sealant to not clog in there quite as easily. And more importantly, it doesn't just flow off the top, so the Cush Core doesn't keep your air from going in and out of your tire when you're trying to actually add or subtract air from your tire. It makes a big difference. This rubber gasket actually goes on the outside. It comes installed on the inside just so you don't lose it. So lever, or not lever rather, valve in just like that. Then this piece of rubber goes over like this. It just gives you a really nice tight seal. And then you take your nice green valve screw, or whatever the heck it's called. Don't quote me. Okay, now that you got your valve in, the first step with the actual Cush Core is just loop it under your foot like this, and you want to give it a little tug. Nothing crazy, you don't want to rip it, but it's good to stretch it a little bit. That's really helpful, especially because, again, this is a new piece of Cush Core, and it's a little bit tricky to get it on the rim. So give it a little stretch, make your life just a little bit easier. It definitely helps, and it really doesn't compromise it at all. So once that's done, you're going to want to take your rim, and you're going to want to line up these little spots right here with your valve. That's for better airflow. So I usually like to put the valve on the bottom for this, just so you know you can keep it in one place. This is like the first kind of real tricky part of this. Try to get that nice and lined up, and actually this is where your hammer comes in. It gives you some seriously good leverage. You want to just put this through the spokes like this, and it doesn't have to be a hammer. The hammer is what I had handy, and it's what I've been using. So this allows you to get some leverage on there, and then you just want to take your hands like this and just work the Cush Core. It's all the way up like this, and just keep going. It's a little snug, and then you're on there. Now, one thing that you'll notice is it's kind of wavy. That's not on there evenly at all. I'm not sure if you can see that on camera, but you'll notice that you really want this to be nice and in the center. So just take your hands and work your way around and try to get the actual kind of like bead of the Cush Core, for lack of better words, nice and even with the rim. Now, the wheel I'm working with is kind of low profile. There's not a ton of space for me to work with, so it's going to be a little bit tougher with this particular wheel to get the bead of the tire snug under there and get it to actually stay on. Bear in mind that in general with any kind of bike stuff, things are different, especially with tires and wheels. If you have a high profile rim or a low profile rim, this is going to make this either easier or harder. If you have a downhill casing tire, it's going to be more difficult. So bear in mind, it could be easier or harder for you than I'm showing in this video. It does depend. Now that you got that on there, you're going to want to take your tire, and yes, please make sure the tread is going the right way, because I've gotten entire ways through a Cush Core job and then realized I put the tire on backwards. A, that's embarrassing, and more importantly, you're gonna end up cursing yourself because it's a lot of work just to have to dismantle it and turn around and do it again. So pay attention to that. Don't make my mistake. All right, let's see. Line that up. This is another part that can be just a little bit tricky, but bear with me. And yes, I'm going to put the tire logos the right way. I'm not one of those people that just goes random. And if you are, more power to you, but I don't want to get hated on. So you just kind of want to ease this in here. Again, it's not necessarily an easy job, so if you struggle a little bit, that's totally normal. Okay, now you can see how this is sitting. It's in the back. The Cush Core and rim is in the bottom of the tire. Okay, now, once you got to here, which that's the easy part, you want to really make sure that you tuck the Cush Core with the rim in. Get that in there, like that. It's very important. Because otherwise you're gonna have a really hard time pulling this over. Because remember, the Cush Core is taking up a whole lot of space now that the rim, or the tire rather, would never have an issue getting onto the rim, but now you've got this much Cush Core in the way. So now that that's nice and tucked in there, just take your hand like this, and then start going up, around like this, and then there, it's on. It's really important that you have that set nice and deep so you have enough space to deal with that lack of space rather. Okay, now, one thing I didn't mention before, another thing that I find extraordinarily helpful, and I'll put this at the beginning of the video, trash can, 35 gallon standard size, makes an absolutely massive difference. Especially, this is actually a 27.5 wheel, I'm putting this on a mulleted bike. Fits even better than a 29er rim. You can put that right on the outside like that. This gives you so much force. You can even, if you're having a hard time balancing, you can put a leg up on it like that. It makes an absolutely huge difference. This is a lifesaver. Now, starting from the valve, you want to start from the valve. And again, this is on the low profile side, so it makes it a little bit harder. You just want to start working with your thumbs, and this is a little tricky. I'm not gonna lie, this takes practice and it takes time and patience. You're just gonna start working it like this and making sure the bead doesn't fall back out. Keep going, keep going. And you want to make it as far as you can with just your bare hands. Okay, so you see, it usually gets tough right around that last 6 inches. I'm just gonna grab my Cush Core lever right here. And now you wanna grab with your hand here. I usually put a knee right here just so I can make sure I got it nice and stable. And now, it's really important, you wanna take small bites. Don't go like this. You're gonna break your lever, possibly deform your bead. You don't wanna do that. So, Cush Core lever, just like that. And nice and slowly. Slowly. Small bites. And it's like almost like a rolling motion. You don't want to puncture your rim tape either. And now, I think I can get this with one shot. Yep, okay, so that's half of it. Now, it gets a lot harder with the other half. That was pretty easy. I will say I'm experienced, so maybe you'll have a little bit of a harder time, or maybe even an easier time, it depends. So, other side, you want to, again, start. See, I lined up my X's, guys. I know you like that. Again, starting with, or starting next to the valve rather, like this, and it's already a little bit harder because you have less to push into because the other bead's on, so there's a little bit less space. Keep working it like this. Again, I'm just gonna do, I just do this for balance. You really want to bear your weight into it. Keep going, keep going. Get into that last little bit. And it's a little bit harder now. So again, just very small bites. You don't want to go for too much at once because of all the things I just mentioned. And then once you got about that much, you should be able to just lift it on. And then maybe just finish it with the fingers, and there it is. That wasn't too bad. I've had a lot worse, to be honest. I've had it a lot worse and I've had it better. For a brand new tire in Cush Core, that wasn't too bad. I really hope these tips have helped you. But now you can go in, actually, you know what? Scratch what I just said. You want to inflate this tire first and make sure that it's going to bead. Because sometimes with the Cush Core in the way, if you don't have a compressor, it's just not gonna sit where it wants to, or sit where it's supposed to rather. And you don't want to, you know, get all your sealant in there and find, crap, I can't get this to bead. I'm gonna have to take it apart, do it again, and now your tire is all full of sealant and you've wasted some. So let's not do that. Don't mind my Walmart pump. Remember not to exceed your maximum pressure. I hope that goes without saying, but I feel like I have to say it. So as I can see, it's already starting to slide on. You want to make sure that, and you probably know this, but just for those who don't, you can actually see the line right here where that thread is. It's like where the bead kind of starts, and you want to make sure that's uniformly around. As you can see right here, it dives under. That means that this tire is not properly beaded yet. So you want to make sure, you can probably see it, the air pressure will start to push its way out. There it goes. Sometimes it makes a really loud bang if you get a lot of pressure in there and it doesn't want to seed, and then eventually it'll go. Then you want to check the other side. Is it all on? Let's see. Yep, look around that bead. It looks like it's all on, so that's great. That was actually really easy. Sometimes a hand pump's not enough depending on what tires you're running. This is a Maxxis Assegai downhill casing. That's a pretty thick tire, but I've had harder times with, say, Continental tires, just for example. That's not a negative on any sort of tire, just some can be a little bit more difficult. Like I said, rims make a big difference too. Now, one other thing I like to do, once you get some decent pressure in there, we're just gonna put in 20. It's better to put this in the bike for it, but just for ease of use, check your tire. If you see any huge rocks in it, that means that either the tire's been deformed or it's not quite beaded right. This one looks really good, which means it's all good. This is all set. That's how I do it. I know that other people have different techniques. This is just what I've found to be easiest, and I've done quite a few. I help my friends out with them. I obviously do all on my own. I get a lot of flats, so I've kind of thought I've learned what for me is best. Hopefully that helps.